Today we will be looking at 5-1 relating graphs to events. Our first one is a commuting one. It says one student walks and takes a bus to get from school to home each day. The graph at the right shows the student's commute by relating the time the student spends commuting and the distance he travels. Describe what the graph shows by labeling each part. So we have to remember what is occurring here. The student is walking and he's also taking a bus to get from school to home each day. So if we look here, this part is where the student would be walking to get to the bus. Here I would say the student is in place, so that must be they're at the bus stop or they're waiting to get on the bus. This part looks like they're traveling very quickly, so I would say that this is the part that they are on the bus. And then they slow down here, so then they must have to walk the rest of the way into the school. So as you can see, we labeled each part. Our example number 2 is actually sketching a graph. And it says a plane is flying from New York to London. Sketch a graph of the plane's altitude during the flight. Label each section. So we're talking about the altitude versus the time in the air, or the time of the flight. So we have to do our x and our y axis here. This would be at 0, the starting point. The y would be the altitude. And the x would be the time after takeoff. So if we look here at the ground, the plane is on the ground. Taking off, so it goes very quickly. It then hits its cruising altitude. It will descend, and then most of the time you're going to have to circle around the airport, so you're descending slower, and then you're going to come in for the landing. So it says sketch the graph and then label each section. So just like what we talked about when we were drawing it, this part is at takeoff. This is at cruising altitude. Here we have descending. Here they're waiting to land. So it's circling for runway to be open. And then last, here is the landing. And that is your graph and our labels of it. And if you notice here, it says most of the graphs in this lesson do not have numbers along the axis. So you have to label the x and y axis and you mark where 0 begins, but then you don't have an exact number. And then you can analyze the graph just based on the shape, if it's going up or down or staying unsteady. Example 3 says, suppose you pour water into the container at a steady rate. Which graph shows the change in the height of the liquid in the container over time? So remember, you're pouring water in here at a steady rate. Obviously it's going to be filling up. Okay. And if I notice here, as it gets to the top, the bowl is getting wider. So as it gets wider, the level won't go up quite as fast as long as you keep pouring at a steady rate. So I look here across time, obviously it's going to be filling up, that's why they all go up at the same time. This one I know won't work because it's really narrow, so it should go up fast here and then start slowing down. So the graph that does that, the height goes faster and then it slows down as the bowl gets wider. Your answer is A. The quick checks here are included for you, so go ahead and complete those. We have 1, 2, and 3. Look at your schedule then to find out what your assignment will be.